Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome to all devotees. Now we'll start today's Bhagavatam class with the melodious Kirtan Jai Radha Madhav by Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Jai Radha Madhav Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhav Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Paramang Sabaribrajagacharya Stukharishya Smadhakritam Saraswati Goswami Bhagwati Jai Nanda Gori Vaishnavaki Jai Ramacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Jai Name Satahosi Krishna Chaitanya Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaurabhakti Jai Sri Radha Krishna Bhogavna Sam Kanda Radha Kanda Giri Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai नवदीप धाम की जय गंगा माई की जय जमुना माई की जय द्वारका धाम की जय स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय All glories to the All glories to the Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Now we start today's Bhagavatam class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tata Jayam Udiret Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Hare Krishna Dandat Pranam. Now today we continuing Srimad Bhagwatam Canto 11 chapter 14 shloka number 21 to 31. भक्त्या अहम एकया ग्राह्यः श्रद्धया आत्मा प्रिय सताम भक्ति पुनाति मतनिष्ठा शोपाकान अपि संभवात् धर्म सत्य दया उपेतः विद्या वा तपसान्विताः मद्भक्त्या अपेतम आत्मानं न सम्यक् प्रपुनाति कथम विना रोमहर्षम द्रवता चेतसा विना विना आनंद श्रुकलया शुद्धेत भक्त्या विनाशय वाग्गद्गता द्रवते यस्य चित्तम रुदति अभीक्ष्णं हसति क्वचिच्च विलज्ज उद्गायति नृत्यते च मद्भक्ति युक्त भूणं पुनाति यथा अग्निना हेममलं जहाति ज्ञातं पुनः स्वभजते च रूपम आत्मा च कर्म अनुशयं विधूय मद्भक्ति योगेन भजति अथ माम यथा यथा आत्मा परिमृज्येत असौ मत्पुण्य गाथा श्रवण अभिधाने तथा तथा पश्यति वस्तु सूक्ष्मं चक्षुः यथा एव अंजन संप्रयुक्तं विषयान् ध्यायत चित्तं विषयेषु विषज्यते माम अनुस्मरत चित्तं मयि एव प्रविलीयते तस्मात् असत् अभिध्यानं यथा स्वप्न मनः रथम हित्वा मयि समाधस्व मनः मद्भाव भावितं श्रीनाम श्रीसंगीनाम संगम त्यक्ता दुरत आत्मवान् क्षेमे विविक्त आसीनः चित्त एत माम अतीन्द्रितः न तथा अस्य भवेत क्लेशः बन्धः च अन्य प्रसंगतः योषित संगात यथा पुंसः यथा तत्संगी संगतः श्री उद्धव उवाच यथा त्वाम अरविंद अक्ष यादृशं वा यत् आत्मकं ध्यायेत् मुमुक्षुः एतत् मे ध्यानं त्वं वक्तुम् अर्हसि. Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Only by practicing unalloyed devotional service with full faith in me can one obtain me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am naturally dear to my devotees who take me as the only goal of their loving service. By engaging in such pure devotional service, even the dog eaters can purify themselves from the contamination of their low birth. Neither religious activities endured with honesty and mercy nor knowledge obtained with great penance can completely purify one's consciousness if they are bereft of loving service to me. If one's hairs do not stand on end, how can the heart melt? And if the heart does not melt, how can tears of love flow from the eyes? If one does not cry in spiritual happiness, how can one render loving service to the Lord? And without such service, how can that consciousness be purified? A devotee whose speech is sometimes choked up, whose heart melts, who cries continually and sometimes laughs, who feels ashamed and cries out loudly, and then dances, a devotee thus fixed in loving service to me purifies the entire universe. Just as gold, when smelted in fire, gives up its impurities and returns to its pure, brilliant state. Similarly, the spirit soul, absorbed in the fire of Bhakti Yoga, is purified of all contamination caused by previous fruitive activities and returns to its original position of serving me in the spiritual world. When a diseased eyes is treated with medicinal ointment, it gradually recovers its power to see. Similarly, as a conscious living entity cleanses himself of material contamination by hearing and chanting the pious narrations of my glories, he regains his ability to see me, the absolute truth, in my subtle spiritual form. The mind of one meditating upon the objects of sense gratification is certainly entangled in such objects, but if one constantly remembers me, then the mind is absorbed in me. Therefore, one should reject all material processes of elevation, which are like the mental creations of a dream, and should completely absorb one's mind in me. By constantly thinking of me, one becomes purified. Being conscious of the eternal self, one should give up association with women and those intimately associated with women. Sitting fearlessly in a solitary place, one should concentrate the mind on me with great attention. Of all kinds of suffering and bondage arising from various attachment, none is greater than the suffering and bondage arising from attachment to women and intimate contact with those attached to women. Sri Uddhav said, my dear lotus-eyed Krishna, by what process should one who desires liberation meditate upon you? Of what specific nature should his meditation be? And upon which form should he meditate? Kindly explain to me this topic of meditation. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sambhavat indicate jati doshat, jati doshat, or the pollution of low birth. Jati dosha does not refer to mundane social, economic, or professional status, but rather to one's degree of spiritual enlightenment. All around the world, many people are born into rich and powerful families, but they often acquire abominable habits and habits that are part of their so-called family tradition. However, even unfortunate persons who are taught from birth to engage in sinful activities can at once be purified by the potency of pure devotional service. Such service must have Lord Krishna as the only goal. Manishta must be rendered with full faith, Shraddhaya, and must be unalloyed or without any selfish motivation, Ekaya. Although pious religious work, truthfulness, mercy, penances, and knowledge partially purify one's existence, they do not take out the root of material desires. Thus, the same desires will reappear at a later time. After an extensive program of material gratification, one becomes eager to perform austerities, acquire knowledge, perform selfless work, and in general purify one's existence. After sufficient piety and purification, however, one again becomes eager for material enjoyment. When clearing an agricultural field, one must uproot the unwanted plants. Otherwise, with the coming of rain, everything will grow back as it was. Pure devotional service to the Lord uproots one's material desires so that there is no danger of relapsing into a degraded life of material gratification. In the eternal kingdom of God, loving reciprocation between the Lord and his devotees is manifest. One who has not come to this stage of enlightenment must remain on the material platform, which is always full of discrepancies and contradictions. Thus, everything is incomplete and imperfect without loving service to the Lord. Loving service to the Lord is the only process that can completely purify one's consciousness. Such service produces waves of ecstatic love that completely cleanse the soil. As mentioned earlier by Lord Krishna to Sri Uddhava, other processes such as self control, pious activities, mystic yoga, penances, etc., certainly purify the mind, as stated in many authorized literature. Such processes, however, do not completely remove the desire to perform forbidden activities, but pure devotional service rendered in love of Godhead is so powerful that it burns to ashes any obstacle encountered on the path of the progress. The Lord has stated in this chapter that loving service to Him is a blazing fire that burns to ashes all impediments. In contrast, the small fires of mental speculation or mystic yoga can be extinguished by sinful desires at any moment. Thus, by hearing Srimad Bhagwatam, one should ignite the blazing fire of loving service to the Lord and burn to ashes the network of material illusion. Vag Gadgada refers to a highly emotional state in which the throat is choked up and one cannot express oneself. Vilajah indicates that a devotee sometimes feels embarrassment due to bodily functions and memories of past sinful activities. In this condition, a devotee loudly cries out the holy name of Krishna and sometimes dances in ecstasy, as stated here. Such a devotee purifies the three words by melting of the heart. One becomes very steady in spiritual life. Normally, one whose heart easily melts is thought to be unsteady, but because Lord Krishna is the stable foundation of all existence, one whose heart melts in love of Krishna become more stable and cannot be disturbed by opposing arguments, bodily suffering, mental problems, supernatural disasters, or the interference of envious person, because such a devotee is fixed in loving service to the Lord. He becomes the very heart of the personality of Godhead. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this verse indicates that the devotee goes back home, back to Godhead, and there worships Lord Krishna in his original spiritual body, which is compared to the original pure form of smelted gold. Gold, gold alloyed with inferior metals cannot be purified by water and soap. Similarly, the heart's impurities cannot be removed by superficial processes. Only the fire of love of Godhead can cleanse one's soul and send one back home, back to Godhead to engage in eternal loving service to the Lord. The Lord is called Sukshmam because he is pure spiritual consciousness without any tinge of material energy. If one chants and hears the holy name and glories of Krishna with great sincerity, there is immediately a transcendental effect. We can immediately see the spiritual word and pastimes of the Lord if we fully surrender to the process mentioned here. A blind person feels perpetual gratitude to a doctor who restores his sight. Similarly, we sing Chakshudan, Dilo Dehi, Jalme Jalme Prabhu Se, the bona fide spiritual master, the representative of Lord Krishna, restores our spiritual sight, and thus he is our eternal Lord and Master. One should not think that one can attain complete transcendental knowledge of Krishna by mechanically engaging in worship of the Lord. Lord Krishna states here that one must endure constantly to keep the Lord within one's mind. Anusmarataha, or constant remembrance, is, is possible for one who always chants and hears the glories of the Lord. It is therefore stated, Shravanam Kirtanam Smaranam. The process of devotional service begins with hearing Shravanam and chanting Kirtanam, from which remembrance Smaranam develops. One who constantly thinks of the objects of material gratification becomes attached to them. Similarly, one who constantly keeps Lord Krishna within his mind becomes absorbed in the Lord's transcendental nature and thus becomes qualified to render personal service to the Lord in his own abode. The word bhavitam means caused to be, as explained in Bhagavad Gita. Material existence is an unstable platform subject to the constant disturbances of creation and annihilation. One who absorbs his consciousness in Krishna, however, attains to Krishna's nature and is therefore described as Madhbhava Bhavitam, or one situated in real existence because of Krishna consciousness. The Lord here concludes his analysis of different processes of human perfection. One who has intimate contact with women and becomes attached to them will gradually lose his determination to go back home, back to Godhead. Association with lusty men gives exactly the same result. Therefore, one is advised to be fearless and to sit down in a solitary place or a place where there are no lusty men and women committing spiritual suicide without fear of failure or of unhappiness in life. One should remember with sincere devotees of the Lord. Atendritaha means that one should not compromise this principle but should be rigid and cautious. All this is possible only for one who is Atmavan or fixed in practical understanding of the eternal soul. One should make a great endeavor to give up intimate contact with women and those fond of women. A learned gentleman will automatically be on guard if placed in intimate contact with lusty women. In the company of lusty men, however, the same man may engage in all kinds of social dealings and thus be contaminated by their polluted mentality. Association with lusty men is often more dangerous than association with women and should be avoided by all means. There are innumerable verses in the Bhagavatam describing the intoxication of material lust. Suffice is to say that a lusty man becomes exactly like a dancing dog and by the influence of Cupid loses all gravity, intelligence, and direction in life. The Lord wants here that one who surrenders to the illusory forms of a woman suffers unbearably in this life and the next. It has already been elaborately explained by the Supreme Lord that without loving devotional service rendered to Him in the association of devotees, no other process of self realization will work. Therefore, it may be asked why Uddhava is again referring to the system of meditation, Dhyan. The Acharyas explained that one cannot fully appreciate the beauty and perfection of Bhakti Yoga unless one sees its superiority to all other processes through comparative analysis. The devotees become fully ecstatic in their appreciation of Bhakti Yoga. It should also be understood that although Uddhava asks about those who aspire for liberation, he is not actually a mumukshu or salvationist. Rather, he is asking questions for the benefit of those who are not on the platform of love of Godhead. Uddhava wants to hear this knowledge for his personal appreciation and so that those who pursue salvation or liberation can be protected and redirected to the path of pure devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Thus end the purpose. Now prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuh Unmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guroho श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवान् च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितान् च नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभे च कृपा सिन्धुभे एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा दंडवत प्रणाम. Now today we continuing Srimad Bhagwatam Canto 11 Chapter 14. Lord Krishna explained the yoga system. We try to understand from shloka number 21 to 31. Up to Uddhava asked Supreme Lord Krishna about the unalloyed devotional service, how give and how devotees bring uh, under control the mind. Uh, uh, those engaged in mystic yoga and Sankhya philosophy, pious work, Vedic study, austerity and renunciation. All topics asking Uddhava to Krishna. Here, uh, in this 21 number shloka, Sambhavata word is coming that indicates Jati doshat or the pollution of low birth. Jati dosh does not refer to mundane social, economical, or professional status, but it is the how one is uh, spiritual enlightenment, which degree he reach the spiritual enlightenment, and according to that, they often acquire abominable habits. And uh, about that, Uddhava asking, and again he asking the goal of the loving service who practicing on allowed devotional service, and how though if dog eaters means chandala also they are low caste, born by birth, but they engaging in such a devotional service, they can purify from the contamination of low birth. And again they discussing about the philosophies of uh, the surrender, and asking so many points or so many subject, uh, doing the supreme personality's surrenderance. Suffices to say that a lusty man becomes exactly like a dancing dog and by the influence of Cupid loses all gravity, intelligence, and direction in life. The Lord wants here that who surrenders to the illusory form of a woman suffers unbearably in this life and also next life. So many uh, discussion come in shlokas, and ahead Sri Uddhava also asking about Krishna and glorifying his um, form, lotus-eyed Krishnas, and how they meditate, and which helps them in liberation. Those are coming in the shlokas, and asking Krishna to Krishna uh, what specific nature would his meditation be. Second, which form should be meditate, and who desires liberation meditate upon Krishna. All question asking to Krishna, and ahead Krishna giving these questions answer. We will try to understand from tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam. Vancha kalpatarubhe cha कृपा सिंधुवे एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Prabhuji will tell you in detail. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. So, we start with the very first sentence which has come, which Krishna has spoken in this particular chapter. If you see what Krishna is saying, he's saying very clearly, only by practicing unalloyed devotional service with full faith in me can one obtain me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhaktya aham ekaya grahyam श्रद्धया आत्मा प्रियासतम भक्ति पुनाति मतनिष्ठा शोपाकान अपि संभवात. He further says, I am naturally dear to my devotees who take me as the only goal of their loving service. By engaging in such pure devotional service, even the dog eaters can purify themselves from the contamination of their low birth. This is the essence of all the scriptures that we have been reading. How to obtain Krishna. What is the objective of our appearance? Who we are and what should we be doing? So who we are, Krishna explains to us in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 itself that we are not this body, we are soul. And then Krishna explains what is our objective. We have also seen Prahlad Maharaj responding to this question, and he tells that the objective for this human life are threefold. One, to know about Krishna. Two, to serve Krishna. And three, to love Krishna. These are the threefold objective which we have to achieve in our life. This is what Prahlad Maharaj says in the 7th canto. And now here, Krishna is telling, how do you achieve it? So how we achieve it is unalloyed devotional service. Now, devotional service, bhakti itself, has to be unalloyed. This is what Rupa Goswami ji has also mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu when he's talking about what is bhakti. Anyabhilashita shunyam, anyabhilashita shunyam, jnana karmadi anavritam. That is what Rupa Goswami ji has mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Anukullena Krishnanushilanam bhaktirantama. You must be devoid of all material desires. Knowledge obtained by monastic philosophy and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. See, this is very important. What Krishna is talking, and all our scriptures is saying the same thing. Even Krishna, if you see, whether it be 9.34 or 18.65, if you remember these two shlokas, they are one and the same, wherein Krishna guides us what he expects us to do. Manmanabha madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam evaisyasi yuktavyam atmanam matparayana. Engage your mind, always thinking in me. Become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. And in 18th chapter, he says the same thing again. Manmanabha madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mate vaishyasi satyam te pratijani priyasi me. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. So becoming a devotee of Krishna and serving Krishna with devotional service, bhaktya, and that too ekaya, unalloyed, has to be the objective of our life. Krishna has to become the object of love, priya, and then Krishna. Though he says that he is impartial to everyone, but still he takes more care of his devotees. And devotional service is so much powerful that even those who are born in the lowest of the categories and have indulged previously in sinful activities, by engaging in devotional service, they can purify themselves. So, this is a very big bonus, a very big positive point for us, which Krishna is saying. Because we don't know how many mistakes we may have done, how many sins we may have done, how many wrong activities we may have done knowingly, unknowingly, consciously, subconsciously. And we don't know what kind of actual religious activities could have been done, what penance we should have done to purify ourselves. But here Krishna gives us that understanding that they can purify the consciousness if we are giving loving service to Krishna. And he says that the service has to be such that the hairs stand on the head, the heart melts, the tears of love flow from the eyes. You should cry in spiritual happiness and thus surrender loving service to Lord. And the moment we reach this level, our consciousness will be purified. We'll get Krishna. We can reach a level wherein our speech becomes choked up, our heart melts, we cry continuously, maybe laugh. We don't know. We can cry loudly, dance, just in loving service to Krishna. That is how the entire universe will be purified. Krishna explains this with the example of gold, which can have impurities, but the moment it is smelted in fire, it returns to the pure, brilliant state. Similarly, we spirit souls, when we are absorbed in the fire of bhakti yoga, will be purified of all contamination caused by all our activities of this as well as previous births and return to the original position of serving Krishna. Krishna is so great, so merciful. He gives us that vision to see Him. Currently, with our material eyes, we cannot understand Him. Just like diseased eyes require medicinal ointment to recover the power to see, similarly, since we are contaminated with material contamination, We need the ointment of hearing and chanting of the pious activities of Krishna to regain the ability to see him. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. And thus we can start meditating upon Krishna rather than the objects of sense gratification which only entangle us. And then our mind can become absorbed in Krishna. So Krishna says, reject all material processes of elevation. They are just like mental creations of dream. We should completely absorb our mind in Krishna, constantly think of Krishna and become purified. We should become conscious of our eternal self, that we are a spirit soul. We should give up association with all worldly activities, even opposite gender, because that intimacy, it actually binds us down. We should concentrate only on Krishna with great attention. Krishna explains that the attachments that arise from our intimate association with the opposite gender is greatest. The suffering, the bondage is highest of all kinds of suffering and bondage arising from all other attachments. And so Krishna recommends that we should give up all such material attachments. Try to become aloof and follow the scriptural injunctions to be completely purified. A lusty person is like a dancing dog, and by the influence of Cupid loses gravity, intelligence, direction of life. And so Krishna is actually warning us that if you surrender to this Maya, this Moha, this Brahma, then we'll suffer unbearably, not only in this life, but even in future life. So that is the first thing that we need to give. So when Uddhava hears all these things, immediately he questions, oh Krishna, how do, if I am desiring liberation, meditate upon you? What specific nature of meditation should be? And you have got so many forms. Which form should I meditate? Now, this is an intelligent question about dhyana. Which type of meditation? Acharyas have explained that we cannot appreciate the beauty and perfection of Bhakti Yoga unless we see its superiority to all other processes. Through comparative analysis, we can become fully ecstatic in appreciation of Bhakti Yoga. So, this is what is very important. Bhakti Yoga is the best path for going back home, back to Godhead. And so Uddhava has put in a desire to hear this knowledge so that those who pursue mukti can be protected and redirected to the path of pure devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Because that is what Krishna has started this whole discussion. Only by practicing unalloyed devotional service with full faith in me can one obtain me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am naturally dear to my devotees who take me as the only goal of their loving service. So when Krishna has said such things, we need to understand how to do that bhakti. Bhaktyaham ekaya grahya shraddhayatma priyasatam bhakti punati mamanishta swapakanapi sambhavat. So if we have to follow this, we need more understanding. And for that more understanding, we need to meet again tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I'm sharing the attendance link. Kindly mark your attendance. Also, whatever queries you may have, you may note down there. Hare Krishna. Now, I welcome all the devotees who have joined us for the chanting session. We will start by recitation of the Shikshashtakam first.